Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Brune here with Shea Dixon for the Bengal Tiger podcast. And Shea, it is a commitment podcast for 2025 linebacker Keylan Moses, University Lab, 6'1", 4-star in the current industry rankings on3. Keylan Moses commits to LSU. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was at the U High Gymnasium, and the hometown crowd went wild for this one. Matty B, this is a kid who, for those that don't know, U High is on LSU's campus, so he has already been going to school on LSU's campus for a very long time now, and he will continue that through college. This is a guy who people remember because he is Dylan Moses' little brother. Dylan Moses was on the cover of ESPN the magazine in middle school and had an offer from Les Miles and was committed to LSU. And ultimately, when Les got fired, he ended up at Alabama. Now, fast forward to the 2025 class. He's a junior. Keylan Moses is one of the top players in Louisiana, as you see on the On3 industry rankings. He's a top 3 prospect in a really deep Louisiana class for next year, the 2025 cycle. And I really feel like he could be a cornerstone piece. He's a 6'1.5", 215-pound linebacker. He announced the commitment today on his birthday, turning 17 years old. A number of schools had offers out, double-digit schools, obviously, but Texas, Florida, LSU were some of the kind of final teams that were still in the mix. Oregon, but it was always going to be LSU. He talked to On3 and the Bengal Tiger about how LSU fits him. He said that when people look at him, they say, "Hey, you're the kind of guy that's going to go to LSU." And he said, "I've always felt that way as well," and thinks that the relationship he has with Frank Wilson was big for him. Joe Sloan, the area recruiter, Brian Kelly, he loves, and his mom felt good about the decision, and he wants to stay home as what is now the number 4 class, Matty B, in the country for next year. They entered with the top 5 class before this decision. Now they have commitments from a 5-star receiver in DeCorian Moore, a 4-star wide receiver in Teron Francis, and 2 more 4-stars in Louisiana, tight end J.D. LaFleur, offensive lineman Brett Bordelon. Both those guys are legacies. Both their fathers obviously played at LSU on the O-line and then at tight end. And then they've got Jalen Bell committed out of Georgia as a defensive back. But this was a huge one. I think this really gets the ball rolling for LSU as they piece together what should be a really, really good 2025 class that could, depending on how the dominoes fall, finish number 1. And this is probably the first time in recent memory that they'll have a real shot at it, thanks to not just recruiting national names, but also a deep Louisiana recruiting class that they can tap into.
Yeah, I listened to you and Billy on the recruiting podcast, and then obviously when read up on Keylan Moses beforehand. Final 5 of Florida, LSU, Oregon, Texas, Tennessee. Obviously, with 2025s coming in this early, you expect them to continue to take visits and whatnot. But in this situation, to me, and I'll throw it to you, but feels different with how much he's been at LSU and how obviously ingrained he is in what LSU is and what Louisiana is. Like, this isn't the same situation as a DeCorian Moore, where he'll take visits wherever else, but I mean, he's been very strong to LSU. This is LSU from day one almost. And so what do you see over the next year and how kind of it goes for him?
I think he's going to be a leader, like I said, a cornerstone piece. He's going to be the guy that can work all of the other commitments. When you get them to campus, he helps host people and bring them around. And being in Baton Rouge, he can always pop up to LSU when they have big visitors in. And that's noteworthy because a lot of the guys nationally in the 2025 class know Keylan very well. I mean, he is a top 300 prospect, a 4-star, one of the more coveted guys out there. And has that name recognition because he's been on the 7-on-7 circuit. His brother was a big-time recruit, and he plays at a very talented U High team. So I think he'll be a true leader of this class. He talked to me over the summer about LSU pitching that to him of, hey, when your junior season ends or when it's winding down, and he made the announcement on his birthday on November 30th, but that they wanted him to be the guy who sort of steers the ship. And I'll give you a few of the quotes right now. He said, people tell me that I'm meant to be there at LSU when you look at my game. It's how I play. My people say I am an LSU Tiger through and through. Another quote, he said, I really love it up there. They make me feel good. They make me feel like I don't have to change. There's just an understanding because they've literally seen me grow up, obviously referencing when he was around so much when Dylan was being recruited, his older brother, by LSU. And he said LSU is literally family to him. And then he wrapped it up by saying, I real deal love Louisiana. I love LSU, and I love everybody there. Frank Wilson, obviously, LSU's top recruiter, he said played a big part in this. But at the end of the day, he said, Louisiana's in my blood. LSU's in my blood. I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah. And this isn't obviously, if there was staff changes, whether it is with House or with other people, whatnot, this year, whenever, this isn't a situation where I mean, like you said, Frank Wilson was a big part, and Frank Wilson, as we know, locks down Louisiana. This is a guy who is with LSU, as long as obviously they're a powerhouse program, which they will be. This isn't a situation where it's tied to one person or anything like that.
No, not at all. He's committing to the school. He's been, like he said, he's been in love with LSU and around it his whole life, and now it's his chance to be a part of the program, to play for LSU, to graduate from LSU. His mom talked about that being a big deal, and obviously him being close here in town, staying at LSU. His little brother is now at U High, so he gets to stay around and watch his little brother play on Friday nights. For people who don't know, U High, their practice field is literally on the other side of the fence of LSU's practice field. So he can be around mom, be around his brother, be around family, and younger brother who is at U High. And I think that was a big thing for them beyond just the infatuation or how much he liked LSU. It was that this is hometown. LSU's on the up and up. They trust Kelly. They love Frank. Joe Sloan's been someone who's present at U High from start to finish with him. And look, start dropping dominoes at U High, because Lamar Brown, a top 10 player in the country, comes up in the class right after him. Another guy who's been around campus a lot. So always nice to get guys from here in town, whether it be U High or Catholic or Dunham with Stingley or wherever, Liberty Magnet with Caleb Jackson, wherever it might be, locking up Baton Rouge talent is always a good thing. Southern Lab, Scotlandville, getting to Zachary, all those schools. So another local guy is on board, and that's a big thing. And Matty B, I say this a lot too. Think about this, and right now LSU's got 26 commitments, more than 20 of them for the current class, 2024. These guys are a year older than Keylan Moses is. They're all about to sign in December. More than 20 of the 26 commits are from Louisiana or Texas. One, that's your fertile recruiting ground. Two, in the portal era, it's easier to keep kids around when they're in their home state, when their parents can drive in and watch every game or whatever it might be, even when they're not playing. They can drive in and support them and be at Tiger Walk and be in the stands, and you don't have to play right away. And after 2 or 3 years, you get out there and start to see your impact, made on the football field. But so much more often, you go break down transfer numbers, guys who are entering, especially earlier in their careers, later in your career, if you're not playing, you're going to go try to find playing time. Early in your career, it's like Corey Kiner. They signed a top 10 running back in the country in Corey Kiner, but he's out of Ohio. Well, what does he do? A year in, after he actually played, he transfers home to Cincinnati because he says, hey, I just want to kind of be back home, and I want to go play there, and I'll play for Cincinnati and be around my mom. And that's just for 17, 18, 19-year-olds. And when you've got an option like the portal to leave without any penalty, it's a lot easier to retain players on roster when they are from Louisiana, East Texas, South Mississippi, and their parents are there. They can drive home in an afternoon or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Just a quick look at the linebacker situation moving forward. As we know, obviously took Whit Weeks and Christian Brathwaite in the 2023 class. The 2024 class, you have Devon Keys, Xavier Atkins, Tylen Singleton. I know Kalaj Cobbins is more of a tweener type as well. So you got those guys, and then you start building that foundation for the 2025 class with Keylan Moses, and he'll be freshman when Whit Weeks is a junior, and so on and so forth. So you start building that up to where you don't have to take a bunch of veteran transfers and whatnot every single year. It's going to be that way across the defense, right? It's going to be that way in corner and linebacker and probably defensive line as well, where they're starting to build up enough equity to where in 2 years I think you hope to be in a situation where Georgia was, where they only take 3-4 transfers a year instead of having to take 13, 14. And I think this is obviously, like you said, it starts with keeping Louisiana talent in state. And for a 2025 class of Louisiana that is this talented, I mean, it sets up very, very nicely for the future.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I mean, they've already landed the state's best offensive lineman, highest ranked in Borderlaw. They've landed the state's highest ranked tight end in LaFleur, two legacies, as I noted earlier. Now you've landed the state's top receiver in Teron Francis, and now you've got the state's top linebacker in Keylan Moses. So you were off to a very, very good start, knowing that Maddie B on December 18th, which is less than 3 weeks away, the number one player in Louisiana, the number one running back in the country, Harlem Berry, will reveal his college choice. LSU is the team trending on the On3 RPM. And then January the 6th, Michigan's Bryce Underwood, five-star quarterback and number one overall player in the 2025 class, will announce his decision. LSU also trending heavily on the On3 RPM. We could see other dominoes drop by then as well, but I think that Keylan Moses is now the first domino to drop across these couple of months that I think could be not just like make or break for an off season or a recruiting class, but if you get these guys and hold on to them, it changes the trajectory of your program in a big way. People say, look, we didn't have enough talent on defense. Go get players, go get talent. That's what all these guys are. These guys are some of the best players in the country. So I really, really, really like this early start to 2025.
Yeah, kind of a sidebar, but JD LaFleur, saw him in camp. He's already a top 300 player in the country just in the initial 2025 rankings, but I could see him moving up even higher. I thought he was terrific. 17th ranked tight end right now, 7th ranked player in Louisiana, and I think he's a lock to be a 4-star top 250 player by the end of it. And then Brett Bordelon, also saw him in camp, seen him in camp a couple times. I think he came in last or 2 summers ago and last summer. Another guy in the top 300 I could see continuing to rise. So yeah, it's an incredible pool of talent right here, especially if you look at just the top. I mean, a top 8 alone are all going to be top 300 players, and then you get past that and there's some guys who can creep in there. So the 2025 class is one that a lot of LSU fans hold on to for hope, and they very much should, because like you said, when you invoke the name, when you say like this has a chance to be the number one class in the country, it sounds crazy, but Harlem Berry, Bryce Underwood, Corey Moore, you start with those 3 and you work from there. This is it could be a special class.
Yeah, and right now we expand to 32 5-stars to match 32 NFL first round picks, but we expand as the recruiting process goes on. As
Yeah.
juniors, with some of these guys still playing in the playoffs, all 3 guys you just mentioned are already 5-stars. So 3 of the 15 5-stars already are either committed to LSU or trending to LSU, which is a pretty big deal. So we'll see how they close out with this 2024 recruiting class. They've got 26 commitments, signing days mid-December. And then obviously the transfer portal's happening. We'll see players leaving LSU's team for the portal or for the NFL draft. We'll see LSU grab a handful of transfers. As you said, it's not going to be in the double digits like it's been in years past. They're actually closer to the 85-man scholarship limit, so they can't do that. But also that was the hope, is to put yourself in a position where you retain players, you recruit at the high school level, and then you go into the portal and grab 5, 6, 7 guys and be content with it. So that's the strategy these next few weeks, but it's going to be fun to watch. As I said, right now with Keylan Moses, mid-December with Harlem Berry, the number one running back in the country, early January with Bryce Underwood, the number one quarterback in the country, all these guys leaning towards LSU, or at least being projected to land at LSU on the On3 RPM. Makes for some pretty entertaining offseason chatter beyond just coaching carousel and what will next year's team look like and how does this recruiting class finish. They're really putting together the future at the same time, which is, hey, that's why they get paid all that money. And they have to figure out how to do like 7 things at once in 2-month span.
Yep. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Man, no, I really do think they're doing a really good job right now in 2025 and 2026, even, of making early evals. in 2025 and in 2026 when we had put out our initial watch lists of guys as sophomores. So even when Keylan and them were sophomores, we put out a top 100 watch list and then expanded it to 300. And again, these guys were sophomores. They were midway through their junior seasons. And everyone from Louisiana who was ranked in the top 300 had already been offered by LSU. So they're not falling behind on guys. They're getting in their evals early. They're making offers early. And again, I think this Keylan Moses domino is one of many that's going to fall in the right direction for LSU, and a class that could be pretty memorable and certainly will be a lot of fun to track.
Yeah, definitely. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3. Board is just incredibly active with a ton of LSU fans and their thoughts and our thoughts. And I've never posted more on a board than I have in the past month, right, Shay? So it's been a lot of fun, and we'll continue to have updates, obviously, throughout the offseason, coaching carousel, personnel changes on the team, transfer portal, all that stuff, recruiting. And yeah, so subscribe to the Bengal Tiger if you have not already. So yeah, thank y'all for joining us for this quick recap and episode on Keylan Moses' commitment.
We didn't fire Billy either. He's traveling right now. He's trying to go see SMU win a conference championship.
Yes, I am filling in for Billy at the moment. So, but yeah, best of luck to SMU over there playing in conference championship.
No, not best of luck to SMU. You're a North Texas grad. You don't want SMU to win.
No, I don't. I want Tulane to win.
Best of luck to Tulane, Green Wave. I doubt Billy will listen to this, so he'll never know that we're rooting against them.
He's definitely, yeah, I don't know if he'll listen to this. He's gonna be busy.
I mean, I know a lot of the in-state kids that went to Tulane, so I'm rooting for him. I like Willie Fritz. I mean, let's go. Come on, Green Wave.
Shay and I are rooting for Tulane against Billy's SMU team. So there you have it. All right, guys. But yeah, thank y'all for joining us. We will talk to y'all later.